These days, it feels like there isn't a week that goes by that one of my favorite creators or a friend of mine isn't heading down to Cabo San Lucas for a vacation. But is it really worth the hype? That is why I spent 7 days exploring the coastline, staying at the all-inclusive resorts, and heading downtown to find out what this super popular destination is all about. And it's not exactly what I expected. Welcome to Cabo. So last year we went to Puerto Vallarta and Sayulita, and this year we wanted to check out Cabo. It's been on my list for a while, but the point of this video is to share my experience of Cabo as a destination for travel from a traveler and a travel photographer's perspective. The first thing is going to be overall location and just the area in general. Next is going to be the all-inclusive experience. Third, because I am a photographer and I do it full time, I'm going to be rating it on photography opportunities. I had a friend down here, Ben, last week who had a whale just kind of scrubbing off barnacles or something like that right on the beach out front of here, and I've heard it's even better here. So number 4 is going to be the activities. I booked a long time ago to go surf casting with Cabo Surfcaster, because you can catch rooster fish off the beach, and for some reason I've been obsessed with catching a rooster fish in my life. We might get up some other activities, just going downtown, check out the bar scene like that, and maybe even a whale watching tour. But for now, we're just gonna go enjoy our first night. We just got checked in and things are looking absolutely beautiful. Got the ocean right there. Just feels good. It's minus 30 degrees Celsius or something like that in Calgary, and now we're here in our room in Mexico after only about 6 or 7 hours, so it's kind of hard to believe. While you take in some of Cabo's incredible landscapes, let's talk about location and the area surrounding Cabo overall. Cabo is where the desert meets the ocean, sitting at the most southern point of the Baja Peninsula, right where the Pacific Ocean meets the Sea of Cortez. As an adventure-focused traveler, this contrast from the desert landscapes to the deep blues of the ocean and sea here is exactly what was calling me to come and explore this area. The focus of our trip was a birthday trip, so we didn't have a lot of excursions booked, but being able to get out and explore the immediate area around our resort in Cabo town really impressed me even without having to go far. Starting off with the beaches, this was something I hadn't given a lot of thought to coming into this trip, but every single beach we visited was very beautiful, super clean, as well as not very busy at all. I'm very impressed by the beaches though. I just was flying the drone around over by where the famous arches are. Even just being able to walk out front of our resort and be in a really nice beach. It's pretty coarse sand, but still not overly busy. There's a few guys selling some things, but honestly just a nice beach to kind of lay out on, hang out on, play sports and stuff like that. One thing you do have to consider though is you can't swim at a lot of the beaches. Cabo has a notorious undertow and actually takes lives every year, so make sure you're at a beach that allows swimming so you don't find yourself in trouble. The beach that we spent the most time at was Playa Medano, which was right out front of our resort, the Riu Santa Fe. Through some of our excursions, we did get the chance to visit a few other beaches, even more quiet than Playa Medano itself, and they were all as equally as beautiful, and I'll put the names up on the screen here. Purely from what I saw, I don't think you can go wrong with beaches here, so I'm sure where every resort is, you're gonna have a beautiful beach out front. Even though the Baja Peninsula is the longest peninsula in the world, it eventually has to come to an end, and that is what the locals call Land's End, a series of granite rock structures that strut out into the meeting point of the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez. Here you will find the famous Sea Arch, which is basically Cabo's mascot. This series of rock formations, including El Arco, which make up Land's End, is what I would call Cabo's most iconic viewpoint. Our resort looked southwest towards Land's End, and we were able to watch the sunset behind it every single day, and that image is burned into my mind now as Cabo. Now that we've chatted landscape, let's jump into the ocean. So me, like many, when I originally started to plan on visiting Cabo and the area, I was focusing on what the ocean has to offer. There's incredible ocean life here with thousands of whales, specifically gray whales and humpback whales, as well as a few others that migrate here every year, coming to the warm waters to birth and raise their calves before heading back up north. And due to this, you really don't have to go far to find whales. Of course, you can take whale watching tours to get out on the ocean and see them from the water, but we were able to sit on some of these beautiful beaches and watch hundreds of whales go by over the week, which to me just adds a beautiful cherry on top to the landscape here in Cabo, and another reason why I really give Cabo and the area in general a super positive review from my perspective. So we're currently in Cabo, Mexico, and as you've probably seen from the rest of the video, filming a bit of a travel review of this location. But that means I need some sort of tripod, and over the past couple of years, my go-to tripod has been the Chronicle tripod by Promaster Photo, and there's a few specific reasons why I keep going back to using this as a travel tripod. First things first is just the functionality of the legs. Got lots of extension here. The thing that I like most probably is that I can pull out the column, which is not a traditional center column of a tripod. That actually pulls out, and it is a tabletop or ground level tripod. So I can set that on the table. I actually have a seagull here checking me out. Look like he's gonna get some food, but back to the tripod. I can pull that out, set it on the table, set that up for a nice low angle shot, especially when I'm shooting on a long lens, which I love to do a lot. That gets me nice and close to the ground, get that foreground that I want, or shooting right over the water. And the last thing that I think is super slick and I've never seen done in this way before is the way that you can put your iPhone in here. So I've got that opened up now. I'm just gonna slip it back in here for ease. And then I can just take my iPhone out, slide it right in there, and then I can film on my iPhone, and I can also turn that vertically with the ball head. And then with that tabletop tripod, this whole thing slips out together, and you can actually make a monopod as well, which I haven't been shooting on this trip specifically so much just because I haven't had my 200 to 600, but that's a nice thing that I can just take off one leg, turn it into a monopod, and I've got basically 4 or 5 different options to shoot with, all within this small, tiny little package, and that is why I continue to take the Chronicle with me on all my trips. Alright, this is day 1 of day in the life at an all-inclusive. We just woke up here and had a little coffee myself and just had a little breakfast down by the ocean. Sun is shining and it's about probably 22, 23 degrees Celsius, and we're just getting into things. Gotta add that this resort is huge. We've probably been walking for almost 10 minutes now just from our room to get up to where we checked in last night. So this is the map of the resort. Right now we're standing right there, and then we're staying way over here, and that is the size of the resort. Pretty massive. And there's over a dozen restaurants and bars and stuff like that. We definitely got introed into it pretty hard last night with the neon party, but we had a lot of fun. DJ was pretty good, and the foam was pretty wild actually. So the reason we chose the specific resort we did, the Riu Santa Fe, was based on 2 factors. It was the price range. We were kind of looking for that mid-level price range, not luxury, but definitely not bottom of the barrel. This was about $2,500 Canadian for the 7-night stay that we did. The second biggest factor was the location of the actual resort itself. This was about a 45-minute bus ride from the airport, but this is only about 10 to 15 minutes by cab to get into town, and we also were able to take a water taxi that was only about 5 or 10 minutes to get into town. So that location and being able to access Cabo Town was one of the biggest reasons why we decided to stay at the Riu Santa Fe. Now let's jump into the rooms, the most important factor in my opinion of a comfortable stay. Immediately I was quite impressed by the rooms. As soon as we got in there, you could tell that it was nice and clean, and we were lucky enough to have a bottom floor, which gives us easy access, but also ocean views. One of the things I'm learning, as we've been staying here for just one night now, is location is pretty important. Our room is right behind us, and the beach is just over there. It just happened by luck, but one of the areas is right beside the big party spot, which could be extremely loud at night. And even now you can hear there's quite a bit of noise happening. The day parties are going on, and you got those sick views and a cruise ship cruising by there. So location is pretty important, and if you can control that, that's probably going to make your stay a lot better. The beds were super comfortable after testing them out for 7 nights, as well as the bathroom was very clean but also very up to date, and we had 2 sinks, so for my girlfriend and I, that was perfect. The other thing that was very nice is that they have a nice mini bar in there because it's an all-inclusive. They had 4 different bottles of liquor, as well as a mini fridge that was stocked with water, beer, and sodas. Next, let's chat food and drinks. I'm not going to go into specifics of every single restaurant and bar at the resort, but as an overall impression, everybody in our group was quite happy with the food and drinks that are available. For breakfast, we were eating at a buffet down by the ocean most days, but there's a number of buffets that are open for breakfast. And then for lunch, they have a couple of smaller buffets that are spread around through the resort, but you can also go down to the basically snack shacks where you can get tacos with a different type of meat every day, which is where we mostly ate, or you could get more of an American style lunch, which was burgers, hamburgers, or hot dogs. Just having access to that when you're drinking down by the pool is nice. Then for dinner, they have a number of a la carte restaurants. We tried out the Italian, the sushi, the steakhouse, as well as the American country, along with eating at the buffet for a couple of nights. Talking about drinks specifically, there are bars everywhere here, just as you would expect for an all-inclusive, and we enjoyed far too many at the swim-up bar down by the ocean. Isn't it funny how you kind of find the bar that you like, and that's the one that you end up going to for the whole week. Lastly, let's be honest, the majority of people are coming to Mexico, and specifically an all-inclusive like Riu Santa Fe for the nightlife, but they also have lots of activities that go on during the day. They have games and challenges down by the oceanside pool. They also have a pretty sweet set of water slides. I wasn't able to test them out myself because I recently dislocated my shoulder, but I handed the camera over to my brother to show you guys what that's like.
That might have been the craziest water slide I've ever been on in my whole life. What do you think of the water park? Is it a good time?
Yeah.
Now for the nightlife. And they do have a pretty good party culture there. They host a larger party 3 times a week, which is the pink party, the neon party, as well as the jungle party. I'll let some of the clips that you'll see throughout this video speak for themselves, but it does get pretty wild. So, should you stay at an all-inclusive resort if you're visiting Cabo? In my opinion, based off of my research and the prices that I've seen at restaurants in the area, I think that it's definitely one of the more affordable ways to experience Cabo unless you're driving down and staying in a camper van or something like that. So staying at all-inclusive, make sure that your food and drinks, at least for most of your meals, are covered. We got really lucky by choosing our location pretty good by being close to Cabo town, which lended to our experience of the whole entire area. We were able to go into town for cheap or pretty easily as well. I would definitely recommend the Riu Santa Fe, especially for the budget range that it is in. So now let's chat photography opportunities. This is a little bit of a different trip for me because it wasn't specifically focused on shooting, but more on hanging out with my siblings and my friends. So I didn't shoot as much as I might have, but I did bring my camera and drone pretty much everywhere that we went. So I'm going to do this section a little bit differently. While I chat through the different opportunities that I came across, I'm just going to be showing you guys the photos that I was able to capture throughout our 1 week here in Cabo. In regards to gear, quickly, I brought my A7 IV, a wide angle and a telephoto lens, and I brought my DJI Air 2S drone. The drone was the main tool of choice for this just because of the subjects that we were able to capture for landscapes as well as wildlife, which I'll get into here. As a photographer, I mainly focus on outdoor adventure, landscapes, and wildlife. And coming into this trip, I had really high hopes of being able to capture some images of whales on the drone. And it really wasn't long. Pretty much within the first couple of hours after arriving at the resort, we were seeing whales blow holes off in the distance. Just sitting watching whales at the other end of the beach, and turned around, there was one right here. This is actually nuts. So we're just looking down the beach, one just came up right in front of us. It's probably gonna blow right behind me there, crazy. And then down here, down the beach here, I'll zoom in. There's about 3 more whales down there, like, and right around there you see that blowhole. And then the next morning I was able to get my drone up. All right, so we just got to the beach. I've been watching whales swim by all week, and we finally got one out there. I'm gonna go see if I can get some drone shots of it. Just saw one not too far off the beach. And I pretty much flew my drone every morning to go and find whales in the shallow waters right along the shore. I put a polarizer on my drone and was able to capture the whales rolling around and frolicking in the surf, and it was absolutely incredible. These were gray whales, and they're a bit smaller than the larger humpbacks, which you see a lot in this area as well. But since they're smaller, they can come up into the super shallow water and making for some incredible photography opportunities. This was a mainstay of what I was shooting here just because it was so cool and unique for me, and I was able to capture some amazing images that I'm super excited about. The crazy thing is that even if you don't have a drone, I was able to photograph the whales during sunrise and sunset from the beach with my Sony mirrorless camera. So that was absolutely insane to see them from the drone, but also only 10-15 feet away from me on the beach. Now, the next biggest subject that I was focusing on was landscapes. The Cabo Sea Arches and Land's End is a staple of photography here in Cabo, so obviously I wanted to get my own version of that. The drone was a big help. I was able to fly right from my beach over to the Sea Arches and Land's End and photograph it in different light. It made for some really cool images, able to capture Land's End as well as Cabo Town in the background. We're also able to take a little boat tour up and around Land's End, so I was able to photograph the arches from the water, which made for some nice diversity of images. If I was to do it again though, I would definitely take a telephoto lens as we cruised around Land's End, because there's lots of pelicans as well as sea lions basking on the rocks there, and it would have been great to capture some wildlife images while we were out there as well. But I didn't just use my drone for landscapes. I was able to capture a few images of the birds and the beaches here from the ground, and because the beaches are so pristine, it made for some very nice images as well, especially in that golden morning light. Overall, for a trip that wasn't specifically focused on photography, I'm actually incredibly happy with what I walked away for images. The whales, for me, if that's all that I was able to capture, would have been enough. It's such an incredible thing to be able to photograph the whales in the shallow water like that, and since the water's so shallow, the details of the whales just show up so great. So overall, especially with the drone photography, for me was a 10 out of 10 because that was such a unique thing for me to capture. So now for the last subject that I wanted to cover in this video, the activities that are in the Cabo area. Since we only got up to a few things outside of the resort, I thought I would just go through what we got up to. Since again, we were on a birthday trip, we hadn't booked a lot in advance, but there was one thing that I had planned, and that was a day trip of surf casting with Wes at Cabo Surfcasters. If you don't know what surf casting is, it is fishing from the beach. They get a specific fish called the rooster fish, which I'll throw a photo in here. That is a bucket list fish for me, so I had booked this a few months in advance.
All right, just got to our second spot here. Fishing with Cabo Surf Casting. I am in a sling, so I cannot fish. This is a bucket list spot for me. I've been wanting to try and catch a rooster fish for my whole life. Apparently they got some on the drone right now, so I got my little brother Logan filling in for my spot. But we just got up here at maybe like 5 a.m. We met the guy in town, and now we've drove around a couple different spots, and we're on a pretty secluded beach. But it's funny because we're driving through basically private resorts and all this stuff down to get to the beach. Now we're just out here and there's nobody out here. And it's absolutely gorgeous. I've been super impressed by the beaches here and not very busy at all.
We saw tons of whales, sea lions, and even a bunch of rays swimming by and on the drone. Unfortunately, we didn't catch any fish, but it was an awesome day learning about the coastline here, learning about the fish, and also planning for the future so I can come back and catch that bucket list rooster fish. Beyond fishing, we didn't get up to a ton, but one thing we did do is book a water taxi from the resort to head into town, but we also made sure that the water taxi would take us out to explore Land's End.
So I was showing some of those drone clips of the arches and whatever over here, and now we're on a boat and we're just coming up to that zone actually.
It was a bit of a homemade glass bottom boat, so we got to cruise around Land's End, checking out Lovers and Divorce Beach.
Oh, we can see through.
Checking out Cabo Arches as well as the rest of the rock structures. Got to see some of the local fish life, along with some basking sea lions and tons of pelicans out there. This was just a nice way to kind of get out and explore. It was only $15 per person, and it dropped us right off in Cabo Town.
All right, we just did our little bit of a tour there. Now we're riding up to some of the Cabo local bars here that are pretty famous. Mango Death and The Office over there. Got to see the famous arches finally. Here we go.
Roll up to a bar in Verse Way.
We're meeting up with some other Canadians, so we thought it was a perfect opportunity to check out some of the bars. We visit a famous bar called The Office, kind of funnily named back in the day because people would say they're heading to the office, which was actually a bar. It's a cool, a little bit more authentic Mexican bar right on the beach. We had some amazing drinks and some seafood, and this funny interaction with a sombrero wearing guy that was pouring shots in her mouth and whacking us with a questionable black object, which I will let you decipher from the videos. From here, we headed for a little walk around town and checked out Baja Brewing, which is a local brewery on top of one of the local resorts, giving you a beautiful view of Cabo Town, the beach, as well as Land's End, and it was a perfect place to enjoy a cold pint. From here, we walked down to check out the marina. This is one of Cabo's crown jewels, so we enjoyed a couple beers while we walked around the marina. There's seriously endless things that you can get up to in Cabo, but since we're here to relax, enjoy some drinks and the beach, we have left a lot to explore in the future. So, is Cabo still worth it? Between the unbelievable whale sightings, picture perfect beaches, crazy nightlife, and some crazy photo opportunities, personally I would say 100%, especially if you're into the all-inclusive thing but still want freedom to explore. For travelers like me who chase landscapes, a bit of adventure, and a cold beer by the beach, it honestly checked a lot of my boxes. If you've been to Cabo or it's sitting on your list, drop a comment. I'd love to hear your take. And if you're into travel photography, hit the subscribe button. Lots more adventures coming soon.